racism doesn't exist.
YouTube question for you from Glock Shots. Ask, does Lucas support the push to free Rodney Reed, whoever that is?
Rodney Reed.
You know who that is?
Yeah, I know Rodney
Who
Reed.
is Rodney
I've gotten
Reed?
a lot of flack for that for some reason. So many people are conflating his past alleged crimes with the one that's being held in court right now, which
Who is Rodney Reed?
Rodney Reed, a long story. Essentially, he was accused of raping a woman.
A black guy?
Yeah, black guy.
He black.
He black. Yeah. And the evidence that has come out is that the DNA, which was the main source of evidence to find him guilty, is now proven that it wasn't from rape. It was from consensual sex. Evidence. Well, we have the medical examiners who said that DNA evidence is now they recant what they previously said, which was signs of rape. Yeah. They're now saying that it's signs of consensual sex.
Listen, let me tell you something. You're a liar.
Linda Schluter. She said she'd gotten lost late one night after leaving a Bastrop County movie house. To get directions home, she stopped at an outdoor payphone and stayed in her car as she dialed a number. And that's when a man walked up and asked her.
And then that's when he said, "Hey, do you think you can give me a ride?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "You don't?" And I said, "Nope." And I was like, "I don't know you, I'm so sorry." And so I kept talking to whoever I was on the phone. I was like, "Somebody just asked me for a ride." And then he said, like he was on the phone with somebody else and he said, "She won't give me a ride." He's like, "I guess I'll just freeze to death." And I was just, made me feel bad. And I was only 19 at the time. So I was like, "Where do you live?" And he said, "On Main Street." And in my mind, Main Street's this big lit up road. So I was like, "Oh, well, how far?" And he said, "A mile or two." And I was like, "Okay, I'll give you the road wise. You're gonna take a left that way." And I said, "Okay." So we go down the road and he said, "You're gonna take a left down there on a dirt road." And I said, "No." I started feeling really uncomfortable. And I said, "I'm not taking my car down a dirt road." And he said, "You're not?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "Why not?" And I was like, "I'm just not taking my car down a dirt road." He said, "Well, I guess you can take me back to where the Y in the road is." And I was like, "Okay." So I take him back there and I'm feeling really uncomfortable. He starts to get out and he gets back in and he said, "Don't I get a hug?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Don't I get a hug?" I said, "I gave you a ride, don't screw me over, get out." And the next thing I know, he has me by the back of my hair, slamming my face in my steering wheel. I'm punching backwards and I open the door. I screamed so loud that I peed my pants. And I just kept punching. And we got out, started fighting a little bit. He got me by my hair and slammed me back in the car while I was in the driver's seat, so I tried to put the car in drive and push on the gas, but he got his foot on the brake. And then he took my head and he slammed it in the next seat to where I must have pulled something in my neck. It hurt really bad. And I got into the seat, kicked back into the back. Somehow I got back in the back seat and started kicking him in the face, but he still had my hair through this whole thing. Finally, we got out. We were fighting again. I don't know how we got out of the car. We fought for a little bit longer. And I asked him, I was like, "What do you want? What the hell do you want from me?" And he said, "I want a blowjob." And I said, "You'll have to kill me before you get anything from me." And he said, "I guess I have to kill you then." And so the fight was on even more. At one point, we got to where he fell right on me. And when I looked up, I looked over under the car, and I said, "A car's coming." And he got scared, and he looked that way, and he looked back at me, and he said, "Stop lying." So we kept fighting. And through this whole thing, I said, "You know, if you stop right now, God will forgive you. But if you keep going, you're going to hell." And so we fought. I let him think that he had both of my hands with one of his hands, and I was in the passenger seat, he was in the driver's seat. As soon as he turned the car back around going toward the dirt road, I punched him in the face again, and then I tried to jump out. When I tried to jump out, he grabbed my hair again, so I was dragging on the ground. I told myself to get up, get up, get up, start slamming the door, his hand in the door, but it wasn't like strong enough. The door wasn't, hard enough. So he got to where he put the car in park, but still had my hair, got out, we fought some more, and we probably fought for another like 3 to 5 minutes. And finally, I had a cross on my neck. He ripped the cross off, and I was trying to get the cross at the same time, and he was dragging me by the neck to where at one point I laid down thinking I could get under the car to get away, but he stomped on my face, and I sat up. He punched me in the face, and finally he got me to where he got me in a chokehold, got me into the car, jumping up. He pulled me over the passenger seat, got into the driver's seat, and was holding my neck like this, and I was kicking with one leg. I was trying to kick the door open, and he was punching me in the side, trying to close the door, and then finally I looked in the rearview mirror, and there was lights. And it was a car. So I punched him in the face one more time, jumped out, and he stole my car.
Trial for this. He was actually earlier in the 80s, I believe it was 1987, he was charged with a brutal rape, attack, assault, sodomy on a Wichita Falls woman. Pulled her into the house, did all these horrible things to her, punched her in the face. She identified him, DNA evidence later on linked him to her, and his defense was we were having a relationship. She wanted it, right? But she said something that made me mad, so I punched her. That was his defense. It was enough to get him acquitted. What happens next is gonna shock and disgust you, because it shocked and disgusted me, especially seeing these pictures right here. 12-year-old girl in the Bastrop area, home in her bed. This man breaks into the house, tries to force his penis into her mouth. She bites it. He gets mad and bites her face several times, hits her, throws her down, and sodomizes her. A 12-year-old child, mind you. Sodomized, beaten, bitten on the cheek multiple times, on both cheeks, right? DNA evidence was later linked to, you guessed it, Rodney Reed. DNA evidence from the previous case linked to, you guessed it, Rodney Reed. But he admitted that he was having an affair with the first woman. What was his defense for the 12-year-old child? Was he also going to say that they were having a secret affair? Regardless if that was the case or not, that makes him a diaper sniper and a sick, twisted weirdo creeping into somebody's house in the middle of the night and raping a child. I gotta tell you, if that was my daughter, I'd chop him up into a million fucking pieces, man. They'd never find his ass.
So Stacy Stites went home to her husband with Rodney Reed's saliva on her chest, went to bed with him, and then woke up with him the next day and went off to work. That's
well, if you look at the as far as the documentary, it covers all of that when it talks about the anus,
like the Central Park 5 documentary. How about you read the actual evidence instead of propaganda films?
Amazing. That is amazing. 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 Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. 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 That is amazing. 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 Isn't that amazing? That's amazing.